Today's discussion topics include why Unifier? Why did AvalonBay choose to go to Unifier? And you may or may not be aware that Oracle's Primavera Unifier is a project management system. So there's a lot more that we're utilizing the system for than you see if you're purely in charge of contracts, amendments, or pay apps. So for example, all of those things will be in there, but in addition, all of the drawings, all of the spec books, all of the requests for information, all of our submittals and our submittal register are all found here within the system. So as we work through a project, we'll have all of those contracts in one place, all of the RFIs, submittals, and then all the way through to when we're finishing up, the submittal that includes the warranties will be captured here within Unifier. So it's really a comprehensive program for us. Unifier is going to do quite a few things for you as well. Number one, it's going to make it so that you have more visibility. So as we talk about contracts, amendments, pay apps, or submitting your invoices, you'll have the ability to submit it into the system, and then you'll know when somebody picks it up. You'll have the opportunity to go in and say, look, I can tell that somebody has picked up that pay app and it's in progress. You'll also be able to see who has the ball, who is working on the record, and you'll be able to see where it's going to go to next. So we're providing you with a lot of visibility with this system to next steps, where the record's already been, and our internal processes as far as our workflows. In addition, if you were to contact us to discuss any of this information with anybody on the project team, they'll all have the ability, the appropriate people have the ability to look and see exactly what you're talking about. We're not reliant on an email or something that one person might have ready access to but not another. Everything goes in the system and everybody who's appropriate can see what they need to see. Some of the changes that it allows for us, it's not a true electronic signature, but it is a way to send over information like your amendments. So we'll talk about that a little bit more, but you'll receive an email notification that there's an amendment in the system as opposed to us emailing the amendment to you. So that'll be a change as well. We'll walk through some basic navigation, how to review the contract record, amendments, submitting pay apps, and I also want to make sure, just so that you know, that you're familiar with the fact that internally we at AvalonBay call Oracle's Primavera Unifier I-beam. So I-beam is the way that we're utilizing the system. And I bring that up in case you ever talk with support or maybe a member of the project team and they use the terminology I-beam. It's synonymous with Oracle's Primavera Unifier for us. Now, if there's anything in addition that you are hoping that we would walk through today, please shoot that over to me in the question so that either I'll be able to work it in or I'll be able to connect with you later and make sure that we capture that information for you. So let's talk about logging in. Oracle's Primavera Unifier is not a software that needs to be loaded onto your computer. It is web-based, which means that you're able to access it from the internet. And we have it set up so that it is browser neutral, which means you're able to utilize it from Chrome, Internet Explorer, Safari, whatever web browser you prefer. There's no fee for engaging in the system with us. One thing that you'll want to make sure that you take care of if you have not already is the fact that there is a forgot password link, and to use it, you'll want to enter some answers to security questions. And the reason that is so important is if you attempt to log in 5 times unsuccessfully, your account will be locked. And if your account gets locked, or if you ever forget your password, you'll want to reach out directly to our Unifier support here within AvalonBay. And then, of course, it's a little stutter in your work. You have to stop, reach out to us, wait for us to fix the matter for you so that you can proceed. So I'm going to show you how to enter some security answers in there so that you'll be able to use this forgot password link and get on with your business. So the majority of us on the team utilize Chrome, and I'm going to log in and show you around the system a little bit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into a training website. And so when I go into it, what you're going to find is going to look a little bit different than yours. I'm going to go into a different URL. So hopefully if you're on this call, chances are you already have your credentials. And if you have your credentials, you would have been sent a welcome letter and likely your written instructions, all of the job aids at the same time. If for whatever reason you do not have your credentials or the information that you need, please reach out to your project team and let them know that you need to be added to the project. All right, so here I am in the training instance of Unifier. Again, this won't be the URL that you'll be utilizing. And just so you know, this is a training database, so anything you see in here is completely fictional. If it looks like another company was awarded a $2 million contract, all of what's in here is just fictional for us to be able to play and train in the system. Your credentials are user sensitive or case sensitive as you enter them in here. So if yours is first initial last name, make sure it's all lowercase. And then your password is also case sensitive. And then you just click on sign in. The very first time that you log into the system, chances are you're not going to see a project tab. But what you will have are your home tabs, your workspace tabs, and your AvalonBay tab. Now it's going to be very beneficial. It'll be very beneficial for you to be able to have this project tab open automatically. So I'm going to show you how to do that, because that way it'll just pop up and you'll have it at the ready when you need it. So we're going to start on our home tab. So again, the first time you log in, you'll have your home tab, workspace tab, and AvalonBay tab. And on your home tab, you can see that on the left-hand side, I've highlighted the top option here. So I have it highlighted as home. And what that does for me is it makes it so that it bundles any of my to-dos, any of my tasks. So again, your home tab is really your to-do list. Any tasks that you have out there that are outstanding will show here. And you can see that they're bundled by project. For this project, AVB Training Redev number 1, I have 16 total tasks outstanding. So you might be wondering, what is a task? A task would be anything that's awaiting your attention. So if we send you a contract, you'll receive an email notification, and you'll also have one of these tasks created for you. The email notification comes from Unifier. So let me show you what those look like. So here are examples of automated emails that come from Unifier. And these say construction, but it's the exact same for development, where, for example, if you have a change order sent to you, I'll use this one as an example, you'll receive an email from Unifier Production 1 or Unifier Production 2, so it won't be from an AvalonBay name that you recognize, saying that there's a change order sent to you for vendor review. So if you would, please make sure you make any adjustments on your end so that your system doesn't believe that these emails are junk mail or spam. And then within the email, which we can see a preview here on the right-hand side, it'll tell you that this, it'll tell you that this change order was sent to you for vendor review. It'll give you additional information as far as who it came from, and there you will see a name that you recognize, and that there's a task due date. So we ask that you try to complete this before or on the task due date. And then as you scroll down the record, it'll give you a little bit more information. But what's super handy on these is here at the bottom, you can see a Unifier login button. So whenever you are assigned a task, which could be that the contract was sent to you, or that a change order was sent to you, or potentially that there's a question on a payout that was submitted, you'll receive a task, you'll get an email to notify you about the task. You can click right here where it says Unifier Login. You can log into the system, and then the task will automatically open for you to take action. So that's pretty important. If you're able to do it in the moment, or you can save your emails and keep them well organized, that's an option for you. Otherwise, they'll be found here on your home tab. Again, on the left-hand side of home, I'm going to come down to tasks. And that is a different way of listing all of your open tasks. So here you can see that they're just listed out for us. And you're able to click on any of these headers if you'd like to resort them. So if I wanted to resort them by, say, task due date, I'd be able to come up and click on task due, and I could either have the newest at the top, or I could make it so that whatever is the oldest is at the top waiting for me to work my way through them. Also, you'll notice that, and we'll just take one of these lines that goes across to work with. Let's say we're working on this one for dev contract. You'll see that you can go straight to the attachment. You'd be able to look at the workflow that's involved. You can go straight to the project tab, which would be what happens if you click here. And then you'd be able to just say, oh, this is about a development contract regarding architectural design. It came from, and you'll see an actual person's name, sent to me for vendor input, and here is my due date. So all of that information is readily visible for you. Also notice that if I hover in this column, these are all hyperlinks. So if I were to click right here, I would go into a project tab as opposed to the task. So if you want to go into the task itself, you would click further to the left, or excuse me, further to the right. And when I double click, it opens up the record at hand. All right, so your home tab is your to-do list. Anything that's on here is outstanding. Anything that's bold you haven't looked at yet, and anything that's red is overdue. What you no longer receive tasks for, you will not receive a task for it's okay to go ahead and submit for payment. You'll just be able to go in the system and submit for payment when you need to. The next tab over is your workspace tab, and there's not a lot for you right now in your workspace tab. But you do have the opportunity to come down to vendor management, requests, and user setup request. And you would be able to come in here to let us know that there's someone else at your organization who needs to be set up in the system. For now, even though we have this option available to you, my suggestion is that you reach out directly to the project team and make them aware that you need to add somebody to the project so that they can be aware that there's someone else they need to keep in the loop. The next tab over is your AvalonBay tab. Again, there's not a lot for you on this tab today. You'll notice halfway down on the right-hand side, there's a section that says Community. And I'm going to switch that over so that it says Projects. And the reason for that is you may only have one project with AvalonBay today, or you might have several. But not every AvalonBay project right now is being managed within Unifier. So it is possible that you have a project where you're submitting for payment in Textura or Timberline and another project where you're submitting here in Unifier. So any project that you're working on that is being managed in Unifier, you'll be able to find it here if you have access to it. What we have not seen yet is how to pull up that project tab. So let's talk about that real quick. To pull up your project tab for the very first time, because it won't be visible, you're going to click right here on the plus mark. And when I click on the plus mark, it's going to give me the opportunity to search. So it says, new tab, what new tab do you need? So then you can start typing. And usually AVA will bring it up, or if you happen to be working on Booten, you could just type in BOO. If you're working on Yonkers, YON. Whatever is just a short indicator of the project you're looking for. When these come up, you would find your project, and only the ones that you need access to will be found. And then you can pull it up and just click right on the option. And we're going to walk through the project tab and the various options available to you here in a minute. Now that you've pulled it up for the first time, you'll want to come over here to this arrow so that you can favorite it or bookmark it. So I'll click this little arrow. And then you would be able to click Add and then Default. And that's going to be what makes it so that this tab is always visible when you log back in. Now with that, you'll want to make sure the first time you set this up that you purposefully sign yourself out when you're done, because the system will log you out automatically after an hour. And if it logs you out, then it may not recognize the tabs that you had open that you want to keep open the next time you go in. There's one more piece that we want to look at while we're over here on the top right-hand side, And that's where you see your name. And there's a little arrow there as well. So let's focus on that. The little arrow right next to your name will bring up these options. And I'm going to challenge you not to go straight to change password, which is what we normally do, but rather click on Preferences. And then within Preferences, go to Security. And here within Security is going to be where you're able to both change your password to something you'll remember and add some answers to security questions. And the reason that's so important is, again, if you attempt to log in 5 times unsuccessfully, you could become locked out. Or if you forget your password, you're going to need to be able to have it reset. So instead of needing to take the time to reach out to Unifier support at AvalonBay, you'll be able to just use the Forgot Password link as long as you answer at least one of these questions. And the questions are pretty simple. You should be able to find 1 or 2 that are easy to use. And then after you answer your questions and update your password, you'll be able to just click on OK, and the system will save that. Right? So that's the basic navigation, the basic lay of the land for the system. And as a very quick recap, to create your security questions and provide the answers so that you can update your password, you'll go to your name where the little triangle is, click on Preferences, and then you'll be able to update your password and enter answers to the security questions. From there, you can click OK. And then, if you ever need to, you can utilize that Forgot Password link. And when you click on the link, it's going to ask you your username and your email address. You'll click on Next. And then it's going to ask you for the answer to one of your security questions. Once you submit that, you'll receive an email containing your password reset information. And you'll be able to take this temporary password and use it to log in. And then the system will say your password has expired. Go ahead and change it to something you'll remember now. And then you'll be set. In regards to tasks, as a reminder, the Home tab is where you find all of your tasks. It's like your to-do list. Anything found on there is still outstanding. Anything that's in bold you haven't had a chance to look at yet. Anything that's red is overdue. Now you do have the ability to look at open tasks on your Project tab, and we'll take a look at that as well. If you're only managing one project within Unifier with us right now, that might be the best option. But if you are working on more than one project with us in Unifier, you'll probably want to use your Home tab to work through all of your open tasks. So here within the system, we can see that right on the Project tab, you'll have an area for tasks and then drafts. And a draft would be anything that you've started to create, like a payout, that you weren't ready to submit to AvalonBay yet. So you can save it to draft. We won't see it. We won't even know it's there until you submit it forward to us. And then this is also where we're going to find our contracts and our payments. So let's go in and take a look at that. So again, I am on the Project tab. So yours might say Ava Hollywood or NY093, Ava Yonkers, something like that. And then you can see the name again down here. And we're going to walk through the menu options that make sense for you for your responsibilities in the system. So you can see that first, what I have highlighted is just the top menu option. And we're looking at a beautiful map, but we have the ability to flip back and forth between the map and a dashboard view. So on the far right-hand side, I could click Dashboard View and change this so that it's just a quick dashboard, or I could click again and make it a map view. Also notice that all of these menu options that are here are collapsed. And what I mean by that is there's a plus anywhere that you can expand the options, expand what you can see and what you can do. So I'm going to go ahead and expand under Tasks and Drafts. And here's where I'll be able to find the tasks for this one specific project. So if you have a contract that needs to be signed off, or if you have a change order that needs to be signed off, this would be where you'd be able to find it. There's also a space for drafts. And again, drafts would be if you had started to create something like a payout and you weren't able to see it through to completion in the moment. So you might go ahead and save it to drafts. And if you do that, you'll be the only one that can see it. we won't even be able to see it at AvalonBay under our typical logins. So just so you know, if you say, hey, I have something under drafts, can you take a look at it for me? It's not something most of us can do. Further down on the left-hand side, we're going to come down to where we have the contracts and payments. And this is where you're going to spend the bulk of your time. So let me open that up. And within here, then you're able to come to commitments, dev contract. This is where your dev contract lives. And we have a few of them in here. One of them has been approved and 2 of them are pending. So the 2 that are pending are waiting on me as a vendor to complete them. The one that's approved, we're really just waiting for it to work through the rest of AvalonBay's side. What's really important to understand here is that until this status says executed, you're not able to submit for payment. Okay, so if you were transitioned over from a project that had been started in another system, then your contracts came over as executed, already done. If you had not yet received a contract from us, then it'll be entered into this system. You'll receive an email, and within that email, you'll be able to go in. So let's take just a quick look at an approved contract so I can show you what this looks like. Now, this was not a true electronic signature. There's still actually a soft copy of your contract that's held in here. Anytime that you'd like to review the development contract, you can come in here. And I'll point out a few things. All of these records have 3 sections. There's your upper form, which is in yellow, the task details, and then your SOV lines. And in addition, there's a place for attachments, and this is where your contract is held, under attachments. To expand any of these, such as the upper form, I'll click right where it says Development Contract, and then it will make it so that I can see more information there. So I'll click right here, and it's very much like a cover page. So I can just see the basics, the total contract amount versus the commitment amount. And again, if you transitioned from another system, these will likely match. A case where they may not match would be if we entered into a $2 million contract with you, and it's done in phases, and right now we're just working through the first phase. So the total contract might be the $2 million, but what we are working through right now might be the $145,000, right? So just so you're familiar, in case you see that those ever don't match, that's what they're for. I'll scroll on down the record. We can also see in here this section for commencement of work, where you can see whether the agreement constitutes a notice to proceed, or we're going to wait until we reach out to you in writing, or maybe it's a partial notice to proceed as described within the documents. So now we can take a look at that schedule of values. So I'm going to come down to the bottom left-hand corner, and I'm going to open this tab simply by clicking on it. That's all it takes. And when I do that, I'll be able to see my line items. So these are the line items that I have that I can bill against. So anything that was left on your contract, if you transitioned in, should be what you find here as still having an amount that you can bill against. And then your total is reflected here at the bottom. And then again, you're also able to go in and look at the actual contract itself by clicking on the lower left-hand side. This is where we have the attachments. So when I click there, I can see a new window comes up, and I'll be able to see the executed contract. So you would be able to just double-click and open up your contract. So that's how to just find your contract and know that it's in there. But what about the instances when you have a case or a task that's been assigned to you because there's one that's outstanding? If there's a contract that's outstanding, or if there is an amendment, so under development dev change order, which is the same as an amendment, if that's outstanding, you'll receive the email. You can utilize the link within the email to log into the system, or you can come directly to your tasks either on your project or on your home tab, and you can find it here. So here is our development contract. So I'm going to double click to open the task. And again, this would be the same if it's a change order. It works basically the same way. Let me expand this window. And just as we said before, you have the three sections, your upper form, the details section, and then the lower form with your SOV. First thing you'll want to do is take notice of the record and see if you're the appropriate person to approve it, whether it's a contract or an amendment. So to do that, you can look and see who all it was sent to. So if it was only sent to you, then you're the only one that can take action on this task anyway. If it was sent to you and other people, you might choose not to accept the task and just leave it alone and let the other person take action. If, however, you are the only person or you are the right person, what you would do is you'll want to come up to the top left-hand side where it says Accept Task. And that's really important because you won't be able to do your job within the system unless you accept that task. So we'll click on the Accept Task button. And now I'm going to expand the upper form by clicking right where it says Development Contract. And again, we can go through and review. We can make sure that the vendor payment address is still up to date. I'm going to scroll down. This is probably the part that's the most important in the upper form for you, is just making sure that you double check the contract amount and then the commencement of work section. And then you can drop down to the bottom and we'll click right on SOV lines so that you can review and make sure that these are the lines and the dollar amounts that you expected to see, because this is going to be what you bill against. And then again, that total amount is found right here. Now you'll want to take a look at the actual paperwork, which is under Attachments. So we'll go under Attachments, highlight it, and there's your contract. And notice here it says, here is the one to be signed. So you would double click and open this up, print it out, get it signed and initialed, whatever needs to be done to it, and then you'll want to make sure that you reattach it. So to add the signed document, you'll come up to Add Attachment. And once you highlight Add Attachment, you'll say My Computer. And then you'll be able to go from here and browse. You can find your contract that has been signed. And then you'll just click Upload. And now you'll notice down here under Attachments that there are two. So now we have the original attachment and we have the one that you've signed. So for that reason, we do ask that you name it something that indicates that it has your signature or your organization's signatures on it, so that you can differentiate. If for any reason you made a mistake, you need to take this one out and replace it with another one, you would just click on Remove to take it out, and then you would repeat the steps as far as Add Attachment, My Computer, and then browse and go find the one that you wanted to attach. All right, so we have reviewed the upper form, taken a look at the schedule of values, and made sure that we have signed everything that we need to sign in regards to the attachments and reattached it. Now we're ready to send it forward. So to show this to you, I'm going to take this Action Detail tab and I'm going to expand it. There we go. And so now this next process, when we're ready to move the record forward, we've done our part and we need to send it on, is we're going to do what's really a three-part process. So first, we're going to select our workflow action. Second, we're going to make sure we understand who it's going to and that it's going to the right place. And then third, we're going to click Send to send it on its way. If you click Save, it's just not going to move anywhere in the process. So make sure that you always go back and click Send when you're ready to move it. All right, so our first thing is the workflow action. We'll click this arrow And we have three options. So let's walk through the three options. The first one is to submit. So if I click submit, we can see that this is going to the admin, and you'll see an actual name for documentation. And that means that they're going to double check and make sure that we have every I dotted, every T crossed, every page signed or initialed. And then you'd be able to click send and send it forward. Another option you have is send to colleague. So if you receive this record and you're not the one that should be processing it, but you do have a colleague at your organization who is, number one, engaged in the system, meaning they're set up, and number two, they're set up to work on this project, then you're able to come in, say send to colleague, and you'll want to click on the to button so that you can say which colleague this needs to go to. Find the right person, highlight them, click add, and OK. What you want to make sure you do not do is click on one of these groups, because that will send it to an entire group of individuals. Rather, you want to click on a name at your organization that you recognize, click add, and OK. And then you'd be ready to click send, and they'll receive the task. The last option available to you is revise. There might be something on the amendment or the contract that you don't agree with or you have questions about. If you select revise, you can see it's going to go back to your admin, and again you'll see a true name for revision, but we want to make sure to tell them why we're sending it back. So to do that, we're going to click on the general comments link and leave some general comments. So I click on that button, the box opens up, and I'll click on add. Question on, we can just say line item, whatever your question is, and then you would say OK. Now your question's reflected there, and when I close the window, you'll notice a little chat head will come up under general comments. So they know that there are comments in there for them. Now the last option that we have available to us under revise, depending on what the revision is, should be able to be handled just with the general comments, but don't feel like you're not able to reach out directly to the admin if a further conversation needs to take place. All right, so once you've chosen whatever your option is, you're welcome to click send, and it'll move the record forward on its way. All right, so I've closed that window, and then had I moved it forward, instead of finding the record under tasks, I would find it under either dev contract if it was a contract, I would find it here, or I would find it under dev change order if it were an amendment. So let's move on to the really good stuff, getting you paid. For this, I'm going to come down to committed payments. So let me just double check. But as a reminder, I've added these handouts here to the webinar, but to find them on your own within the system, so you always have the latest and greatest, you can come up to the Help button, and then you can click on the Help. And when you do that, it's going to bring up a PDF. And within the PDF, you're able to jump right to the piece that you need, like this particular one is 29 pages, but your section of it is not a full 29 pages, so you'd be able to jump ahead to where it says vendor and just review the piece that you need. So I'm going to come down to contracts and payments, committed payments, and then dev pay app. And here in the log view, remember we talked about the log view being what's over on the right, you can see any of the pay apps that have already been entered. And you're also able to click on any of the headers, like I'll click on status and resort based on that column. You're also able to come in and let's take a look at one that just says in approval here. You're able to come into a record, double click, and get a whole lot of information about it, meaning you can see exactly who you would see a name here, the record's waiting on, and what step. We're waiting for the development manager to go through and review and approve it. And then in addition, I would be able to click on either status view or workflow progress to get even more insight. So I will click on, I'll choose workflow progress. and I'll be able to see that I created the record and when, that the dev admin completed their part and when, and then I can see that it's waiting on the dev manager, and it says not started, which means they have not accepted the task. If you remember us clicking on that accept task button, they have not done that yet. And then further, I'm able to look down at the bottom half, and I'll expand this. And this gives you insight into AvalonBay's process where you can see, okay, the record gets created, it goes to the development admin before it goes to the manager. And you can tell by the color of this box that's where the record's sitting today. And then it just depends on the amount of the pay app based on our approval thresholds before it goes on to accounting review, gets integrated with our payment software, and goes to end, at which point you get paid. And once it's gone to end, let me close this out, then here within the record, you'll be able to scroll through and actually find the check number, accounting date, and the paid date. So all of that information is available to you directly within the system. So we'll go through and create a new one. Just as a reminder, for these, you do have written instructions available to you within the system, so you could come up to Help, Dev Pay App Help, and then it'll open up. And then you would just select whatever bookmark option applies to you. So this is Create by Vendor. And there's your written instructions. But we'll say we don't need the help because we know what we're doing, and we're going to go straight to New. Now you'll want to click squarely on the New button, ignore the little arrow that's next to it. So you can just highlight the process that you need, which is Dev Pay App, and then click squarely on the New button. And when you do that, it's going to open up a brand new window. And I'm going to go ahead and expand that window. And just as we've seen, there's the three sections, the upper form, the details, and then the payment details section. There's also a button here for schedule of values that we're going to look at in a second. But it's usually easiest to just go from top to bottom on these records, and I'll show you the flow that'll likely work best for you to get these entered. So again, to expand the upper form, I'm just going to click right on where it says Development Pay App. And when I do that, you'll see that more of the screen is visible for me. Any field that's gray, you're not able to influence. Any field that's white, you can use, and any field that has a red asterisk, like we see here, is mandatory. So the very first field that we're responsible for is to pull in this contract, and we do that by clicking Select. The reason that the system wants you to select your contract is oftentimes we'll have more than one contract with a particular architectural firm or engineering firm. So this is just a way to say this is the contract we need to focus on. So I'm going to click on Select, pick the proper one and double click. And now you can see a lot of information is auto-populated. Because I've clicked and selected on the contract, I can see that it's a lump sum contract, and I can even see the original contract amount, any changes by change orders or amendments, the new total, and then the balance to finish if I'd already had some payments out of this system on this contract. But what we need to enter is on this side. So we'll go in and we'll say our invoice date, and then your unique invoice number. So it'll be a unique invoice number to this project. And next it's saying, has your invoice been attached? To attach our invoice, we'll come up to where it says Add Attachment. And when we click on it, then we'll be able to say My Computer Browse. And we'll click on Browse. From here, you can just find your invoice, double click, and then click on Upload. Now that we've done that, on the bottom left-hand side, you should see an attachment right here. And that's where your invoice is gone. Now, if for any reason you attach the wrong one or you need to make adjustments, you can just highlight it, click Remove. Now we can see attachments is 0, and you'd go back to Add Attachment, My Computer, Browse, and you'd be able to go back and pull up whichever invoice is the one that you meant to include. And then, again, Upload. And now we're able to go back to the checkbox, so don't miss it, but the system will let you know if you do before you're able to submit it. And you're able to say, yep, I have attached that. Now it's probably standing out to you that the total amount requested is 0 and it's a gray box, so we're not able to just type in how much we want to get paid. We're going to address that a little bit further down on the form. So let's keep on scrolling. The next item is our certificate of insurance. And you can see it's a mandatory field right here. So you can click on Select and look for your COI. The COIs are entered by the AvalonBay project team admins. This isn't something that you are responsible to enter for yourself. So they'll have them in there. And the COI needs to be at least 7 days out. So if you don't see one available here for yourselves, reach out to your AvalonBay admin so that we can get that adjusted within the system, get it updated. So you'll select the appropriate one and double click, and then you can see your COI expiration date. So again, if we don't have an active COI or if it's expiring within the next 7 days, you won't find it there. You'll want to reach out directly to the admin. Now if you have any special payments or comments, you can put those in here. Any special payment instructions or comments. And that's it for the upper form. So we've completed the upper form. We've added our attachment. Now we need to go into the payment details and say how much we want to get paid. So I'll click right where it says payment details. It'll expand that section for us. And this takes us back to that SOV button. Remember, we had this SOV button. And the SOV is really good to keep open as a reference. So I'm going to click this button and you'll see another box that pops up. And I'm just going to pull it to the side of my screen and I'm going to click on this split option that's available so that I can show you what all's in here. So within this, I can see the description and the cost code, the original commit, any approved change orders, and you might see some zeros because it was paid out in the other system. And then I'll also be able to see any pending invoices, approved invoices, and remaining balance. And that's the part that's going to be really important for us entering this, is that remaining balance. So back on the lower form, we're going to click on Add. And now we have that reference point that we can pull back up. So I'll click Add. This window pops up asking me what I want to bill for. I'll pull it over here. And then I can pull up my schedule of values as well as a reference. So I can see under item reference 1, soil removal, that I still have a remaining balance of $506,191. If I needed to bill for soil removal and I don't have enough money in this line item, I might double check and make sure that I'm using the right description. And if I am, then I might need to work with the project team on an amendment because maybe we needed a change order to expand the amount of dollars available for that line item. So now that we know that we want to bill on line 1, we'll say we do have enough money for it. So I have two options. One is I can just click this little icon where it says View All Options, and I can just highlight that row. What you do not want to do, but you'll be tempted to do, is click on these hyperlinks. Instead, just highlight the row itself, and then you can click on Select. And that's going to be what pulls in that line item. So let me go ahead and do that. Then I would give it a short description. And then payment details, very important. Do not forget to tell us how much you need to get paid. And again, this dollar amount not exceed what we have available in the line item. So I'll go ahead and drop in just a little bit of money there. And then after you finish that part, you're ready to click on OK. And so you just complete this process until you get everything that you need to get paid on submitted. So there's my first line item. I can click on Add, bring back up my cheat sheet, and I'd be able to keep working through the process and add more line items. If I've added a line item in error, I can highlight it and click Remove. If I need to adjust it, I can just double click, open it up, and adjust it. And then I also have the option of grid available to me. And it works similarly, though not exactly, like an Excel spreadsheet, where you can double click in, pull in your cost code, click Select, and then put in the amount requested. And then you would save this. If you go above your dollar amount allowed, you'll get error messages. So if you ever see an error message, make sure you've entered your cost code and the short description, and then make sure you still have money available in your SOV. So now we have entered what we want to get paid. We'll have included whatever line items are necessary, and the total for those are reflected right here. And then we're ready to do our 1, 2, 3 process to send it forward. And again, we'll click on our action details so that you can see what's in there. And this one is a little bit simpler. There aren't as many options, so we'll do our 1, 2, and 3 of send. If you need to save it, then it'll save to drafts. You have not lost your work. But let's say that for this moment we're ready to send. We would select our workflow of submit. You can see the admin it's going to go to for review, and then you would click send and it would be on its merry way. If, however, the phone rang, you weren't able to complete what you needed to get done, and so you just clicked on save, then we won't even know it's in the system. And I'll do this so that you can see it. Click on save. It'll tell me that a draft has been saved. And I won't find it here in the Dev Pay Apps because I haven't submitted it. So it won't be here, but if I come up to drafts and click on that button, I'll be able to find it. And there's my pay app. And if I wanted to keep working on it and get it submitted, then I can just double click. And if I'm ready, I'd click send. If you do have any questions as you go to work through these, or if you need anything, just rely on that Unifier support number. It's open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Time to provide you with support. And if you have any questions, that's going to be probably the best way to reach out and get some answers. Also, if you need your password reset, that's going to be a great option for you. I appreciate your time, and good luck working with the new system.